There we go. I see the You Are Live pop up. So hello, Internet. Welcome to Behind the Scenes with the Year Teen staff. And today we are talking about video games, a topic that I alone in this group of people am equipped to talk about for hours and hours and hours about video games and enjoyment of those video games. I'm a gamer and have been. So I think some of my earliest memories are video games, which maybe I shouldn't admit to. I see Mindy already shaking her head. But I mean, I don't know. I've always been that kid that just loves the escapism of video games. I'm a writer, so I always have really enjoyed the storytelling in video games. And then, we all these articles coming out about, the positives of video games. There's let me see, like you play games with friends, you get better, hand-eye coordination. And like, I believe it. Not that I'm the most coordinated person, but I've made so many friends through video games, with video games. I mean, even I was just telling everybody right before we went live that I did a Halloween party through Animal Crossing with a bunch of friends that are living nowhere near me. We had like a costume contest, and somebody built a corn maze and like a scavenger hunt. And like it was people that I haven't really been able to see or talk to very much in the past, I don't know, however long I've been out of college. And, it was so much fun. And then I also have like Twitch streams where like a friend of mine plays a video game and I'm just in the chat chatting with them as they're playing video games. Like, I don't know. I think just as a community, it depends on being in the right spheres, because I've seen plenty of not so pleasant people in those video game communities that are, screaming at each other and just being cruel. But other times it's just you make wonderful friends, you meet people, you have like a common interest. I don't know. I'm opening the floor to everybody else.
Well, I'm gonna back us up a minute. So Jessica is an example of something. We are talking today about something that's straight from the headlines. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the news articles or reports about the pros of benefit of gaming, and that studies have been conducted, and that for youngsters who game, I think it's like 3 hours a day. It was a lot to me, but that they have less impulse, they have better impulse control, better hand-eye coordination, and some of the other things that Jessica says that she believes are her benefits from playing video games. But that's where we got today's topic. So I want to make sure everyone understood why Jessica's fessing up to her passion.
Sorry, I'm putting them in the chat.
So I'm gonna be honest and probably, the devil's advocate here, to put it nicely. So so I'm a believer. I'll start off by saying I'm a people person, but I love face-to-face. And Jessica, I hear what you're saying. I think it's fantastic. This is your fun and you've met friends. But to me, I guess I'm like questioning, where's the interpersonal contact? You're on a video screen. For me, I'm a person, hey, how are you? Shake your hand, hug you, whatever, laughing and touch your shoulder. Where's that human contact? I think that's what I worry about with it. And when you say better hand-eye coordination, then what? Then someone who's out there shooting hoops, there's someone who's out there hitting a tennis ball against the wall, having to catch, is on a skateboard and, having to maneuver bumps in the road or rocks. So better hand-eye coordination than who? Than the kids sitting there doing nothing. So and again, my honesty here is I haven't read the studies. I haven't read the article. So that's my bad. But maybe you guys can explain that, because that's what I don't understand. And I grew up, and my kids, who are in their 20s, grew up outdoorsy. So they were always, someone had to clean the table and they were like, well, I'll go shoot hoops for you for clearing the table, or let's play ping pong downstairs. So that's where I would wonder. So better hand-eye coordination than who, and where do you get the interpersonal contact? That's what I would question.
Well, I'll tell you this, Mindy. I have 2 gamer sons, and they're different generations. So they did it at different times. That's different types of games. You know, one had complete access to online games not from an early age, but he never knew a world without that. Whereas another one started before that was available. There is some personal contact in that sometimes people will play in the same room, especially the younger they are. So what we used to do is there was I had a son who had a group of friends and they were gamers, and the parents, we would take turns every Friday night hosting a sleepover, and they would all bring their little laptops or devices or whatever. But there was a rule, and they got to have pizza, and that meant the other parents get to have date night or whatever, right? While you're hosting. So you were guaranteed I think there was 5
I like that.
That was cool. But what we did was they had to go outside for a minimum amount of time first. Okay. So they also had to bring scooters or skateboards or whatever. So it was, Friday after school, they'd go home, dump their stuff, whatever, pack up their gaming stuff, but they also had to have something or a plan for outside. Then they do outside, and then they could come home and they could game all they want until they passed out, and they loved it. And I'll tell you, this son is still friends with 3 of those kids.
Yeah. So that's to me, that's combining almost the best of both worlds, Kamira, right? You're doing the personal, and then you're doing the video game, and it's like a hybrid, right?
Yeah. I will say I still don't understand the whole video game thing. I get that it's generational. It doesn't hold my attention. Arcade games didn't hold my attention. I know I'm dating myself, but that's what was in when I was young, and that never held my attention either. It's just not the way my brain works. But I had to, figure out a way to rest with it, and it changes with each age. You can give them time limits when they're younger teens and tweens, but as they get older, how do you wrestle with it? One of my compromises and a suggestion, if you are able to do this in your home, have all of that type of equipment in a public space.
Yeah.
If you can pull them out of their rooms, even if there's in that public space for the 3 hours a day, which seems like a lot if it's not a weekend, I think that's probably best for the family.
Interesting.
Okay, now I'm going to throw in something. Okay. I have 2 girls, and they were not gamers. They weren't into it. They obviously didn't have the time. But now what I have, because I work at Your Teen, and my friends feel like, I'm the teen whisperer. I hear the horror stories about the addiction. They don't want to do anything else but play games. They have dropped every other activity, and they're, and we had, Mindy, you remember we had a coworker that her husband was a professor at a university that said, every semester he had somebody come to him and say that they had to drop out of school because they had missed all their classes and were failing because they were stuck up all night playing games. So that's kind of the world that I've heard of, because everyone comes to me with all of their bad stories of gaming, and we've read the studies about how addictive it can be, and how they don't want to do anything else but play games. So that's the other side of it too. And I think maybe that's going all the way, one extreme. So that's the thing that always scares me, because those are the stories I tend to end up hearing. So I don't know if I'm sure there's good and bad. And I do know I have a friend who her son started getting his private pilot's license at 15. And she said that his gaming really helped him to be able to pilot an airplane because of, moving everything around and being able to scan the screen. So she said that helped him. So those are the stories I hear. So.
And it can be dangerous, right, Eka? Because I know that, they're predators, and especially these online games. And my sons had to be older than everybody else's family before I would allow the online ones. They could, and then we weaned it in. You could only do it with this group of friends. And I would go down there and be like, who's so-and-so? And I had a suspicion that one of them was playing with strangers. And so I literally did a whole sting operation and said, I'm leaving to do errands, and then came back in the other way and listened, and then came in. I was like, yeah, no, that is not a stranger. That is not one of the people on our approved list. That's a stranger. And it was a whole thing. Like, not only did I take away devices and stuff, he literally had to sign out his laptop to do homework. I had him check it in and out because I wanted, but I also had a friend who's a prosecutor and stuff talk to explain that it's not hyperbole, that this is a very dangerous thing. This is what she deals with all the time. And that he needed to face the reality of it. But Jessica said, Jessica, you said you're a writer in the storytelling. We, for a son, we used, and it wasn't my idea, and a young person who was older than a son and much younger than I came up with the idea of using one of the games to start creative writing for that child. And so they played the game, and then they had to write the story. And then, of course, they'd start writing more than happened on the game and stuff. And it was very clever of her.
Kamira, I think just quickly, and then I've been talking, but I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, which is you were involved in your kids' lives, video lives, right? Obviously you were involved in the kids' lives, but the video, and I think that's key, right? We talk about that all the time at the magazine too, is, parents need to be involved and supervision, and you didn't go out and leave your kids for 3 or 4 hours or, whatever, all day to play video games. You were an active part. And I think that probably makes a huge amount of difference.
I saw Melissa about to say something. Were you?
Yeah, I'll jump in just to say a few things. First, I grew up very sheltered. My mom was like extremely overprotective. And when I went away to college, I just trusted everyone for everything. And I found that to be a mistake. So I wanted to raise my kids in a way where they had a bit more freedom, but I also set the basis for like, these are things you look for. These are danger cues. So when they first started doing online games, we did go over like, what's safe, like what are some things to look for? What are some warning signs? And we played together initially, but that was when they were younger. They were tweens then. And as they've grown into teens, they have actually come to me a couple times like, you wouldn't believe what some people are doing on here. I'm like, oh yeah, I believe it. And thank you for staying away from that. And thank you for reporting it. And not only to me, but to the people in charge of the game, whatever they're called. So that's one thing. Another thing is sometimes, you have introverted kids who are not into meeting other crowds of kids in real life, and they actually need to learn how to connect. And these online games are great forms for that. And also you have kids who are just not outdoorsy. Like they're not sporty, they're not outdoorsy. And like, they need their own little niche to get into. My younger daughter is like, she sets up dates with a long distance boyfriend. They get together and play games online. Like, and then my older daughter has met some people in different forums like Discord, and they get together and do events online. So like, I think it's a great way to connect when you're not finding ways that you can connect with people in your community for whatever reason. It's another outlet. And I actually miss it because I used to play with them, and my laptop will not take the game anymore. My laptop is too old, and I can't run the game. There's too much graphics or whatever. So, but I don't know. I think it's really nice when you set the foundation. You're safe about it from the very beginning. Your kids like are prepared not only for online, but also they can take those skills, those people skills out into the real world, and know what to look for in live human interactions too.
Yeah, I don't, I don't have gamers. I think I shared before that I raised my kids screen free when they were little, and so it kind of very slowly became part of their life, and it's not something we kind of didn't allow, but it just never entered our life. But from a college perspective, I see, that esports is a huge business, and that, like, when you look at colleges, there are now programs where this is your major. And so I think from that perspective, I can look at it and say there is the gaming, and I think, but it's an industry now, and that people might actually, find a career in. So I think it's not just all games. It might be something that somebody who is really into it might turn into a job, and that cannot be kind of, I mean, the one thing I think that scares me, but it doesn't scare me about just gaming. It's like life overall. I really don't like extremes very much. And so, of course, with gaming, you always hear these stories. My kids have friends who game all the time, where it's like, yeah, how quickly does that happen that you are all of a sudden 8 hours and you are still playing this game? But I also realize that is probably a really small portion, and that gets hyped up quite a bit. But otherwise, we all have kind of our outlets where we have to just de-stress, and I can totally see, I play solitaire, but I can totally see that somebody else plays a video game, and that is like their, moment.
Or you binge watch Netflix. I mean, like,
That's true. And you're right that there are career things, because what I did with one of my kids, I realized that I was just never, ever going to get ahead of this gaming thing. So I was like, if you are so into these games, like anything else, you need to go deeper. So then I put him in a camp for game design. And for years he did that. I was like, if you're going to do this, you need to know all parts of it. And if you think this is your world, then you need to become a leader in the world. Don't just passively receive what's available there. And so that's another angle that you can take if they're going to do it.
Do it. Or I would say too, moderation, right? Kind of like everything in life. It's all about balance and moderation. I don't know that an extreme in really anything is good. So, and it's, I take away, do what's best for your family. Like Melissa, as you were saying, there are kids that are more introverted, kids that are more extroverted, more active. Kind of do what's best for your family and balance. I think balance and moderation are key. So. Yeah. My words of wisdom. My Monday words of wisdom.
Yes, you wanted to jump in when I was talking.
No, it was mostly just, I have played. I do think that being aware of those limits, because like sometimes you do get sucked in on a weekend where you just need to turn your brain off. I'm like, I've been playing Stardew Valley most of the day. Stardew Valley is very relaxing. And I was just also going to say, like, just as somebody who is kind of in this sphere, I think, I think the people who are like playing all night and not going to classes, that might be indicative of a different problem than just the video gaming. Although there are certain games that are very easy to get gambling addictions, like those gacha games where it like. I've heard of adults who are like, all right, I had to quit this like phone game, this Pokemon phone game, because I was spending like real life actual money trying to get like, it's like a Skinner box, and you have to really kind of pay attention to some of the like, like Pokemon Masters or Genshin Impact, and just be like, yeah, these are fun, good games, but if you are getting like dragged into the gambling aspect of that, maybe talk to your kids about that as a potential pitfall. But then on the flip side, like I've seen so much creativity come out. Like there's this guy on YouTube who has like hours and hours and hours of videos where it's just deep dives into music theory, all explained through video game music. And it'll be like all these like high-tech complicated, like I don't know any of the words he's using. I don't know what a Lydian mode is, but he's explaining it with the Legend of Zelda, and I'm like, that's fascinating. Yeah, I'll watch more of this. So I don't know. I think there's ways to make it into, or like, you know, the creative writing stuff. There's so many ways that you can turn it into something that's like positive and creative, and like, you know, taking video games and maybe trying to mix it with some other interest that they have and see if you can combine it, see if they can learn something about video editing or just literally anything. You can turn it into something, you know, creative that they can make and be proud of.
Give us some good family games, Jessica.
Family games
That a teen would like, not the ones for the little kids.
I mean, Animal Crossing is a very like low stakes, like you're all just little people living on an island and trying to make your island very pretty. I mean, Jackbox games just as like a family game night kind of thing. I've talked about that before. Oh gosh, family games. I mean, sometimes it's just a matter of like watching your kid play Kingdom Hearts and just trying to grasp the very complicated, but also it's about Disney characters, so like you kind of already get some of it. I don't know. I'm sure I could think of more, but
for parents who aren't into it, like I'm not into it, just you sacrifice a couple of hours, maybe once or twice a year, and play with them, if not for nothing else, so that they have a reason to make fun of you for the coming months.
Well, it also gives them a chance to be the teacher, so to teach.
Yeah.
Oh, there's the newest Mario game, Mario Odyssey, I think has 2-player mode where you can like play as the little hat. That's fun sometimes.
I haven't played Mario, so I'm going to put that on my list of things to do.
It's a really fun one. I love that game. Only my game wasn't busted. Anyway, I'm going to Kamira. Who are you speaking to tomorrow?
Tomorrow we have at 1:30, we're straight out of the headlines again. This time we're talking about what you can do about the pandemic's negative impact on learning. I'm sure everybody heard the report card last week about ACT scores are down, math test scores are down. I think that reading may be flat, but those two are enough to cause worry. So what can you do at home with your tweener teen to counter this? That's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. We're talking with Dr. Sherry Kelly, and she's a clinical psychologist, health psychologist, and developmental neuropsychology expert. So she ought to be able to tell us a thing or two.
Sounds fantastic.
Thank you. 1:30, same place you are today.
1:30
Eastern time.
All right. In that
Francesca,
case, have a great rest of your week, everybody. Bye.